The Last of Us is still a masterpiece in 2022. Here's why. Lots of spoilers in this video, guys. Click off if you don't want spoilers. There are so many spoilers. Please click off if you don't want spoilers. There we go. The Last of Us released in 2013 and was the first new IP Naughty Dog had created since Uncharted back in 2007, and to say it was a success is an understatement. The Last of Us made waves across the entire gaming industry, being awarded left, right, and center, and to many is the best game they've ever played. But after all these years, and with the announcement of a remake coming in less than 4 months, I couldn't help but return to the game I consider my favorite game of all time. Now, it's flawed, but I am biased, but here we are, it's definitely flawed. The Last of Us is a masterclass in simplicity, from its story and its structure to its simple gameplay with elements of complexity that almost anyone can pick up and master. Combine this with Naughty Dog's impeccable standards of polish and you've got a recipe for a game that would win hundreds of awards, but more importantly impact players in ways no other genre could. While The Last of Us doesn't tell a new or creative story, it's how the story is told that separates it from the other zombie stories, and to really talk about this with any kind of depth we have to talk about Joel and Ellie. Make no mistake, The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie. Joel is the foundation of the story, while Ellie is being built on top of it for the inevitable eradication of Ellie's innocence, and a foundation is useless if nothing is built upon it. So Ellie is what makes Joel work. It really is a delicate balance. This story would not work if these two characters didn't have any chemistry or decent writing. If the casting was wrong or if the script fell flat, it just would not work. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson absolutely killed these roles. These performances are still, in my opinion, the pinnacle of acting performances, for me anyway, in games. God of War and Red Dead 2 came close, but Troy and Ashley really provided something that hit so close to home for me, and of course a lot of the credit should be given to Neil Druckmann. You know, he's the director. The Last of Us really is about morality and trauma, figuring out how to balance it, and like I said, this is nothing new. The film Children of Men is a pretty good example, and I've even watched it. This kind of story has been told many times, but this is the one that just stuck with me for some reason. Joel, the traumatized, cynical, murdering asshole, with Ellie, the naive young girl, breaking down the barriers Joel's trauma puts up. That's what connects us to these characters, our ability to empathize and understand, and it's just done masterfully. The story of The Last of Us is paced perfectly. With each new era you play in, something is added to Joel or Ellie's character. Barriers are being broken and some glimmer of hope is slowly getting through the cracks every time you progress. The deaths of Sarah, Tess, Henry, Sam, while tragic, give you that glimmer of hope due to those tragedies slowly connecting Ellie and Joel through that trauma. And seeing them slowly figure out who they really are and how they really connect with each other, what better way to do that but through trauma, in The Last of Us anyway. And that ending perfectly shows that. Joel desperately clinging to that hope that's been built throughout this simple but effective story, only to slowly eradicate that trust between them, ending with a reminder that one simple decision like lying to someone could tear it all down. Well, obviously the ending has a bit more to it, but I'm talking about that final scene between Joel and Ellie. Joel's decision is extremely irrational and emotionally derived, and while pretty much everyone was conflicted on his decision, to this day you still have conversations about it all over the internet. It's pretty clear it's a human choice, and I highly doubt many of us would have done anything differently. The quality of writing, pacing, soundtrack, performances are all top tier, especially the soundtrack. Gustavo Santaolalla created one of those soundtracks that are just so, it's just beautiful and haunting, and it just amplifies all of those elements I've already mentioned. I don't want this video to be like an hour long, so I'll say one last thing about these characters that is personal to me. Hopefully you don't cringe too much, but here we go. I rarely talk about how much The Last of Us genuinely means to me. This game released in 2013. I was 13 at the time. Yeah, I know I was a kid, blah 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 blah, but throughout my short time I experienced a variety of people that shared very similar traits to Joel, and I never understood or could empathize with any of their shit. I was a cynical, quiet kid, and for whatever reason this story just unlocked something in me that helped me forgive or empathize with people I never thought I could. And over the years, when I was feeling shit or going through some sort of, I don't know, emo phase where I hated people, I always came back to The Last of Us, and it always pulled me back out and just let me look at myself and what I believe in and how I'm acting and the people I treat like shit or the people I care about, stuff like that. Sure, The Last of Us is about morality of killing and things of that nature, but I always found ways to project myself on it, and it really did affect me in ways I still can't put into words properly. Or maybe it was just puberty, who really knows. I do sometimes think about what Neil Druckmann really wanted people to take away from this story, but whatever his thought process was when he wrote the story, I gotta say, I think he's a pretty cool dude. Anyway, I should probably talk about the gameplay. As I mentioned, The Last of Us is at its best when it's simple. Gameplay involved looting, shooting, stealthing, and more looting, and it's so simple that it's brilliant. From its beautiful slow moments taking in the environment, admittedly they have aged pretty badly, but they're still beautiful in their own unique way, to the brutal murdering of infected humans and cannibals. Cannibals aren't human, guys, I think we can agree on that. The hand-to-hand combat is visceral while simple. Animations are quick and effective, giving you that weird enjoyment of murdering some dude who just wants some credits to feed his family and themselves. Stealth is pretty damn good, offering a variety of enemies from basic infected to clickers to giant bloaters that are extremely relatable as they sit in their own little rooms waiting to attack anyone who dares to step into their man cave. Bit like the stereotype of us gamers. Now, it's no Splinter Cell like I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, but the stealth is good enough, and while it's probably the weakest part of the entire experience depending on what difficult you play on, it's that simplicity that sells it. AI, while not perfect, are ruthless once you're spotted on harder difficulties. Humans will attempt to flank you or wait for you to run out of ammo to approach. Some will charge at you with bats and planks of wood, and some hang back with their rifles to wait and hopefully pick you off when you make the smallest mistake. However, the AI can be pretty dumb at times, completely ignoring you even when you're clearly in their field of view, and the basic infected are extremely easy to sneak up on. You also have a crafting system that once again is simple but effective. I think you get the point by now. You can craft molotovs, bombs, medkits and upgrades to your melee weapons. Gunplay is also pretty clunky, like most console shooters, but it's satisfying enough and never feels cheap. When you hit an enemy, you get enough visual feedback to really feed your dopamine, and nothing else feels as good as hitting that one-tap headshot and seeing your enemy drop to the floor while Ellie screams, "Fuck! Holy shit, Joel!" I love it when Ellie comments on your messed up gameplay choices. It's funny. I like it. Now, The Last of Us is not flawless. Those ladder sections or plank moments are really poorly made. These environmental puzzles are not puzzles. They feel like padding rather than, legitimate puzzles, which really could have added a lot more to the gameplay loop. Hell, even with the ladders or planks, it would have been awesome to have a moment where you're carrying the ladder somewhere and you're being swarmed by enemies, having to rely on Ellie to protect you as you push forward, figuring out the different ways, the quickest ways, stuff like that. Not only would it help sell Ellie and Joel finally getting closer, but it also could have added a lot more to the intensity of those moments, similar to that hotel basement level, having to balance starting the generator while also being anxious about what could be lurking behind you. I really like that moment. I still get scared. Yes, I get scared of The Last of Us in those specific moments. Yes, I'm a pussy, blah 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 blah. There's also a good variety of weapons from pistols, shotguns, rifles, flamethrowers, machetes, and more, all giving you a good amount of wiggle room to play how you want. Rush in with a machete? Yeah, go ahead, mate. Want to hand back and pop a couple heads? Here's a rifle to do just that. Simplicity is The Last of Us from its absolute foundation was perfect for this kind of game, especially for a game that would change game design in story-driven games forever, allowing many other developers to build on top of what was made here. The Last of Us to me is still a masterpiece in 2022, and that's why.
Okay.
I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you got to the end, I can only assume you did, so if you're feeling up to it, drop a like on the video and maybe stick around by subscribing. Thank you for watching.